Every human being is a walking story, constantly broadcasting signals that reveal far more than the words that leave their mouths. The art of reading people begins with a simple truth: language was not our first form of communication. Long before humans developed speech, we relied on gestures, facial expressions, posture, and vocal tones to signal danger, attraction, dominance, and trust. In many ways, that ancient code of communication still runs beneath every interaction today. Think about it. When someone says "I'm fine," but their voice tightens and their eyes flicker away, you instantly feel the tension. Your mind catches the inconsistency, even if you can't explain it logically. That's the subconscious part of you, the primal observer, picking up signals that words are trying to cover. This is why reading people is not about memorizing a list of body language cues, but about seeing the whole picture. Psychologists often point out that communication is overwhelmingly nonverbal. Some studies suggest that more than 60 to 70% of what we communicate comes not from words, but from how we say them and the body that delivers them. Our nervous systems betray us constantly. A micro-expression might flash across the face for just a fraction of a second, exposing anger or disgust before the mask of politeness returns. A restless foot might tap beneath the table, revealing anxiety even while the person's voice remains calm. Our bodies often confess what our mouths refuse to admit. But why are we so easy to read? The answer lies in survival. Human beings evolved in tribes where cooperation and trust were matters of life and death. Being able to detect deception, hostility, or hidden intentions gave our ancestors an edge. Reading subtle cues wasn't just useful, it was essential. Even today, your instincts can feel danger in a smile that doesn't reach the eyes or in the stiffness of someone standing too close. The art of reading others is less about clever tricks and more about reconnecting with a skill that has always been in us. However, if reading people is natural, why do so many fail at it? The problem is that modern life has dulled our instincts. We are glued to screens, distracted, and often too focused on our own image to truly observe others. The ability to read anyone requires slowing down, paying attention, and seeing the unsaid. It means watching for contradictions between words and behavior, noticing the pauses, the slips, the nervous gestures. It means learning to listen with your eyes as much as your ears. And yet, this art is not just about others, it is also about the reader. To truly see another person, you need clarity of mind, emotional detachment, and the patience to let patterns emerge. The greatest observers are not those who judge too quickly, but those who watch long enough for people to reveal themselves. Because given enough time, everyone does. This is the foundation. The art of reading anyone begins with understanding that the truth of a person lives in the spaces between words, in the cracks of performance, in the small betrayals of the body. To master it, you don't just study others, you learn to observe the human condition itself. At the heart of reading people is psychology, the study of human behavior, both conscious and unconscious. To understand body language is to understand that the body is not separate from the mind. Every thought and emotion has a physical echo. When anxiety floods the nervous system, muscles tighten, breathing shortens, and micro-movements appear. When someone feels pride, their chest expands, their chin rises, their gestures widen as if claiming space. The body is the autobiography of the mind, written in movements. One of the most important psychological concepts here is leakage. People often attempt to hide what they feel, but emotions are not easily contained. The subconscious leaks them out through involuntary expressions, known as micro-expressions, and through slips in posture, gestures, or tone. For instance, someone may smile politely during a meeting, but their hands may fidget under the table. They may agree verbally while their head subtly shakes. No, these leaks are the cracks in the mask, and they are often more truthful than the mask itself. Another powerful lens is Freud's idea of defense mechanisms. Humans disguise vulnerability through patterns like denial, projection, and repression. But while the mind hides, the body often exposes the truth. A man projecting confidence might tap his fingers nervously. A woman repressing anger might purse her lips tighter with each word. Understanding these defense mechanisms gives you insight into the layers beneath behavior. You begin to see not only what someone is showing, but what they are protecting. Philosophically, the act of reading people raises an unsettling idea: most humans are not fully aware of themselves. They may believe they are calm when their body is in turmoil. They may claim honesty while their face betrays guilt. This is not always conscious lying. Often, people are strangers to their own emotions. When you learn to read others, you are often reading truths they have not yet admitted to themselves. That makes observation both powerful and dangerous. It puts you in a position of seeing more than the person wants seen. Equally important is the concept of baseline behavior. Every person has a natural rhythm: how they normally sit, gesture, speak, and breathe. To truly read someone, you first have to observe this baseline, then watch for deviations. A sudden change is often more telling than the behavior itself. For example, if someone is usually talkative and suddenly becomes quiet, that silence carries meaning. If someone is normally still but begins tapping their foot during a conversation, that deviation reveals tension. Reading people is less about isolated cues and more about detecting when their normal pattern fractures. But here is the deeper philosophy: to read others is to confront the illusion of privacy. We walk through life believing our thoughts are hidden, that no one can peer into our internal world. Yet our bodies constantly broadcast signals to anyone paying attention. The truth is that no one is truly opaque. The more skilled you become, the more you realize how transparent people actually are. That realization can make you more compassionate because you see their hidden struggles, or more strategic because you can predict their actions before they know them themselves. And here lies the paradox. To read people well, you must be detached enough not to get swept into their emotional performance, yet human enough to recognize what they feel. The greatest observers, from detectives to psychologists to leaders, balance this detachment with empathy. They see clearly without judgment, and in that clarity, they gain influence. To read people is to learn the language of the unspoken. Unlike spoken language, which is taught and consciously chosen, body language is instinctive, ancient, and deeply tied to survival. Long before humans developed words, our ancestors relied on posture, gestures, and expressions to gauge friend from foe, safety from danger. Even now, those primal instincts linger, spilling into every interaction. When you sharpen your eye to notice them, the world stops being silent. Suddenly, everyone is speaking, even when their lips don't move. The first key to observation is posture. The body always tells a story of how a person feels in a given moment. An open posture, arms uncrossed, chest exposed, feet pointed toward you, signals comfort and receptivity. A closed posture, arms folded tightly, body leaning back, legs crossed defensively, signals withdrawal or resistance. Subtle shifts matter even more than fixed stances. If someone leans in during a conversation, they are drawn in. If they lean back after a certain comment, that comment hit a nerve. Posture is a thermometer of comfort. Then there are gestures. Watch the hands closely. People's words may lie, but their hands rarely do. Nervous hands often betray what the mouth hides: tapping, scratching, picking, or restless fidgeting. Conversely, deliberate stillness often signals composure and control. The most powerful communicators rarely use exaggerated gestures. Instead, their movements are precise, minimal, and purposeful. Think of Thomas Shelby calmly lighting a cigarette while others around him fumble. His stillness communicates dominance more effectively than 1,000 words. Facial expressions are another field of signals. While smiles, frowns, or scowls are obvious, the real gold lies in micro-expressions, those fleeting flashes of emotion that last less than a second. A forced smile might briefly reveal a flicker of contempt. Eyes may widen for a split second at the mention of a sensitive subject. Catching these micro-moments requires practice, but once you can, it's like reading the subtitles of someone's inner world. Beyond observation, the voice itself is a carrier of truth. Tone, pace, and pitch reveal more than words. A sudden quickening of speech may indicate nervousness or eagerness to escape the topic. A monotone voice may signal emotional withdrawal or control. Silence is even more powerful. Pauses can be weapons. People often rush to fill silence, revealing truths they did not intend. The greatest conversationalists know when to speak less, letting the other person's discomfort do the work. But learning to read people is only half the art. The other half is controlling your own signals so you are not easily read. This is where psychology meets strategy. If others can see your emotions before you want them to, you lose power in the interaction. To become unreadable, you must cultivate self-regulation. This means mastering your breathing, posture, and micro-expressions until your body obeys your will instead of betraying it. One of the strongest tools is neutrality. By keeping your face calm and your gestures minimal, you reveal little. The poker face is not just for cards, it is for life. This doesn't mean being robotic, it means being intentional. When you do smile, it should be purposeful. When you do gesture, it should carry weight. Control breeds presence, and presence breeds influence. There's also the strategy of mirroring, a psychological technique rooted in empathy and rapport. By subtly reflecting the posture, tone, or gestures of the person you're interacting with, you create unconscious harmony. They feel seen and understood, even if you've said little. But mirroring must be subtle, too obvious and it becomes mockery. Done well, it makes you someone others feel drawn to, without knowing why. Philosophically, controlling your body language is an act of reclaiming agency. Most people walk through life unaware of the signals they leak. They are ruled by impulse, their emotions written on their bodies for the world to see. But when you gain mastery, you no longer give yourself away so easily. You choose when to reveal, when to conceal, when to intimidate, and when to soothe. It is a form of quiet power, one rooted not in domination but in awareness. At its highest level, the art of reading and controlling body language is not about manipulation, but about presence. To read others is to understand them, to master yourself is to command respect without force. Together, these skills give you an edge in every human arena, from negotiation to intimacy, from leadership to survival. The art of reading people and mastering your own signals isn't abstract theory, it's a tool you can use daily, often without anyone knowing. Think about conversations at work, family gatherings, negotiations, or even dating. Every interaction is layered with unspoken meaning. Most people operate blindly, focusing only on the words being said. But if you train yourself to look deeper, you gain a kind of vision others don't have. In the workplace, reading body language can save you from making costly mistakes. Imagine being in a meeting where someone insists everything is fine, yet their posture leans away, their jaw tightens, and their tone grows clipped. They're not fine, they're resisting, even if they won't admit it. If you can see that, you can pivot your approach, diffuse tension, or address concerns before they erupt. Leaders who notice these cues earn trust because they respond to the feelings beneath the words, not just the words themselves. In relationships, both romantic and platonic, this skill is priceless. Someone who says, "I'm okay," while avoiding eye contact or giving short, clipped responses is clearly not okay. By picking up on these cues, you show care, empathy, and presence. At the same time, learning to control your own body language keeps you from unintentionally sending the wrong signals, such as appearing disinterested when you're simply tired, or defensive when you're just thinking. The smallest adjustments, eye contact, an open posture, a nod at the right time, can transform communication. Conflict is where this mastery becomes most powerful. Arguments are rarely won by volume, they're won by composure. When someone shouts or throws accusations, and you remain calm, measured, and in control of your body language, you destabilize them. Your stillness becomes a form of power. They are flailing in their emotions, while you stand rooted in yours. This doesn't just apply to confrontations in daily life, it's the essence of negotiation, leadership, and persuasion. The one who controls their signals often controls the room. Philosophically, this practice connects to something larger, self-awareness. To read others deeply, you must first learn to observe yourself. Every unconscious tic, every nervous habit, every subtle leak of insecurity is a window into your own mind. By training yourself to recognize these patterns, you not only become harder to read, you also become more attuned to the parts of yourself that were once invisible. This is why the art of reading people is, at its core, also the art of reading yourself. And there's another layer, ethics. With great awareness comes great responsibility. You can use these skills to manipulate, to play games, to twist people toward outcomes they might not have chosen. Or you can use them to connect more deeply, to listen without words, to lead with clarity and presence. Like all forms of power, the direction you take depends on your character. That's why philosophy matters here. Without a moral compass, the ability to read and control others can just as easily corrupt as enlighten. So the takeaway is this: human beings are books that are always open, even when they try to shut their covers. Most people never learn to read beyond the first page. But if you study closely, you'll find that every movement, every silence, every fleeting glance is a line in their story. And when you learn not only to read others but to edit your own signals, you stop being a character in someone else's story and become the author of your own. The art of reading anyone is really the art of paying attention to them, to yourself, to the dance of signals that forms the foundation of every interaction. In a world where most people are distracted and unaware, your attention becomes your power. And power, when rooted in awareness, is no longer about controlling others, it's about moving through life with clarity, presence, and choice.